Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation, The Christmas Story in Greek and Latin from the Gospel according to Luke. My name is Christopher Ehlers. This presentation translates and compares the Greek and Latin versions of the 5th verse of the 2nd chapter of Luke. The 5th verse is a continuation of the 4th verse and it gives us the purpose of Joseph's journey. In English, the purpose was to register with Mary, who was betrothed to him being pregnant. To express this purpose, we have the same verb forms that we saw in the 3rd verse. In Greek, we have the passive infinitive apographesthai, meaning to register, and in Latin we have the subjunctive ut profiteretur, meaning so that he may profess. Notice the difference in spelling between this form, ut profiteretur, a third-person singular imperfect form, and the verb form we saw in the 3rd verse. That form was ut profiterentur, a third-person plural imperfect form, while the suffix tor is an indicator of the third-person passive form. The additional letter n makes it plural as opposed to singular. Whether in Greek or in Latin, the purpose was to register. There is a prepositional phrase modifying this purpose. In Greek, we have the phrase sun Mariam, meaning with Mary. Sun, a Greek preposition meaning with, typically takes the dative case. It reminds us of English words like synchronize and synthesis. In Latin, we have the phrase cum Maria. We are familiar with the Latin preposition cum, meaning with, from its use in expressions for honors in college degrees, such as in cum laude, magna cum laude, and summa cum laude. Mariam, an indeclinable form of the Greek name for Mary, is spelled with the letter mu at the end, which makes it sound like our English letter M. This is because this form derives from the Hebrew name for Mary, which is Miriam. But in the Latin text, the name for Mary is declined, and here it is in the ablative case, which is used with the preposition cum. There is an analogous Greek form for Mary that is declined like the Latin equivalent, Maria, but this particular text prefers to use the other form, Mariam. The Greek accent is on the last syllable, Mariam, while the Latin accent is on the next to last syllable, Maria. In both languages, the relationship of betrothal is expressed through the use of a participle in the dative case. In Greek, we have te emnesteumene, which we can translate as a relative clause, who was betrothed to him. As we saw in the 2nd verse, a participle is a verbal noun derived from a verb, which is declined like a noun and not conjugated like a verb. In Greek, the participle emnesteumene is derived from the present verb mnesteuo, meaning I betroth. The epsilon prefix indicates a past tense, making this an aorist participle. The passive feminine participial suffix, mene, indicates the sense of being betrothed. Putting it together, we can translate this participle as a relative clause, meaning who was betrothed. The Greek prefers to link the participle to the personal name Mariam through the feminine definite article te, here in the dative case. The dative case is used because this case is associated with the preposition sun. To identify the person to whom Maria was betrothed, the Greek uses the reflexive pronoun autoi to refer to Joseph, the subject of the previous verse. This is the same reflexive pronoun we saw in the 4th verse. Here it is masculine and singular and in the dative case, not because of the preposition sun, but because the dative case is a case of reference for a participle like this. The Greek text then adds a second participial phrase, use enknuoi, meaning being pregnant. The feminine singular participle use derives from the present verb eimi, meaning I am. This is the Greek verb to be. This participle is in the dative case because it refers to Mariam, which is in the dative case because of the preposition sun, even though this particular personal name, Mariam, is not declined. Enknuoi, meaning pregnant, is a dative form that is derived from the nominative enknuos. Although this form looks masculine rather than feminine, this particular form is used for both genders. The Latin text also gives us two participial phrases, but they are in the ablative case as opposed to the dative case. This is because the ablative case is used with the preposition cum. The first phrase is desponsata sibi, meaning betrothed to him. Desponsata is a feminine singular past participle, meaning having been betrothed. It derives from the present verb desponso, meaning I betroth or I espouse. Sibi is a reflexive pronoun that is singular and in the dative case, and it refers back to Joseph, the subject of the previous verse. The second participial phrase in Latin is uxore praegnante, meaning a pregnant wife. Uxore is a singular ablative form derived from the feminine nominative uxor, meaning wife. This Latin word uxor comes up in legal notations in American law in the context of property conveyancing and pleadings in court proceedings, and is a remnant of Old Common Law. Praegnante is a singular ablative form derived from praegnans, the Latin adjective for pregnant. Unlike the Greek, the Latin text does not use an expressed participle based on the verb to be. However, we can infer a participle meaning being to round out the meaning of the phrase.